Hello again. I was intrigued this morning to see somebody accuse me of racial prejudice. It is an odd suggestion, since that kind of thing is quite irrational, and I have always prided myself on being a rational kind of fellow. Let's look at the idea of racial prejudice. When I meet somebody for the first time, whether this man is a man or a woman, black person or Indian, Chinese or somebody from Siberia, I can say nothing definite about the person's intelligence, temperament or character. To assume that a black person is less intelligent than me or a Chinese person brighter would be idiotic. There may well be statistical differences in the IQ scores of different ethnic groups, at least that is what all the data indicates, but these are probabilities, not absolutes. In other words, it may be that out of a group of 1,000 people of African origin, there may be fewer IQ levels of, say, 120 than might be found in a group of 1,000 Chinese people. Even if this were to be the case, then it would tell me nothing at all about the individual black person I was meeting for the first time. He may very well be more clever than me, or he may not. From that perspective, making an assumption about him before he has even spoken would be foolish. Any differences in intelligence may well show up in the number of academic qualifications gained in a large group of black or white people, and this will have an effect on their prosperity as a group. It does not mean, of course, that all black people are less clever than I am, or that all Chinese people are sharper than me. I'm sure we've all met stupid Chinese people just the same as we've all met intelligent black people. It is for this reason that I am opposed to any kind of racial prejudice in society. If a black person gains 3 or more A-levels at A-starred, applies to Oxford and then does brilliantly in the thinking skills assessment test and performs well at interview, it would be morally wrong and quite mad to refuse him or her a place at the university. In the same way, it would be awful to refuse to employ somebody in any role simply on the grounds of the person's skin colour or ethnicity. So much I think we can all agree on. However, it would be equally wrong and foolish to deny a better qualified applicant a university place or job because he or she was white or of Chinese heritage, and then to give the opportunity instead to a black person who was less well qualified. This too is racial prejudice, and I disapprove just as strongly of such practices. I've certainly drawn attention to this kind of thing in videos on this channel, and I shall continue to do so. The reason is that I do not like or approve of racial prejudice. Attempts in the United States to get more black people into universities like Harvard and Yale mean that they feel it necessary to prevent Asian Americans from getting in. In other words, they operate a quota system which limits the number of students of Chinese heritage, and then they give the places instead to black students who are not as academically gifted. This is meant to give black people a leg up, but an increase in supposed fairness in that direction automatically means an increase in unfairness elsewhere. And what it amounts to is racial prejudice against people with epicantic eye folds, which is just as terrible as racial prejudice against people with black skins. I would like to see true equality, which Haile Selassie, the Ethiopian emperor, dreamed of, as he put it, when the colour of a man's skin was of no more consequence than the colour of his eyes. I think that job applications, and those for universities, should be colour-blind. I think we should disregard ethnicity for all practical purposes and treat men and women on their merits as individuals. I'm sorry if this comes across in the modern world as racist, but it used to be regarded as a very noble dream.